Dzień dobry, assalamu alaikum, ciao, konnichiwa, bonjour, guten morgen. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Ken at 10. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Some great news coming out of the press over the weekend. I hope you heard, and if you didn't, then you're going to hear it here, as you always do first. And we were talking about it first, weren't we? This is about the first-time buyer incentive scheme, which we've been talking about for some time. It's been trailed by Boris many months ago, and we've been talking about it. But by the same token, we wanted to be sure that you knew about the rest first. Now, what we know so far, this is an article from the Times. It was also, again, it's one of those widely trailed things, you know. You always know when something's likely to be coming when it's widely trailed like this. And when I say widely trailed, the editorial is in the Times, the Telegraph, the Sun, the Independent, the Mirror, the Express, and the Mail, and BBC News. So with all those things, this is more than a rumor. This is going to happen, which is quite exciting because, as many of you will know, I've been pushing for first-time buyers to get a better deal because they get a raw deal, and this will do it. There are some reservations I have, but there's some good news here as well. But let me give you the headlines first of all. This is what's come out of it. The Chancellor will outline a new scheme on Wednesday that will see the government guarantee part of a 95% mortgage for first-time buyers up to a property value of £600,000. Banks are expected to have capacity to lend to about 3,000 individuals. 3,000 is not that many, actually, but that's a month. When you think that before the pandemic, the first-time buyer count across the year before was about 350,000. Still, nearly 10%, isn't it? So we'll see, but really good news. I mean, ministers are also looking at other ways to help first-time buyers, including 25-year loans for 95% of the value. Boris Johnson has also asked officials to consider how to remove some of the stress tests on applicants, making 95% loans more common. Now, what's great about that is it will release the renters into the first-time buyer market. I've been saying for some time that when I was young, many moons ago, when dinosaurs were around, we used to be able to get first-time buyer loans at 95%. And even then, finding that 5% was a struggle. And just more recently, 20% has been the typical loan, which is impossible for lots and lots of people in the UK to find. Now, make that 5%, that's 3/4 gone. All of a sudden, it's doable, it's reachable, it's possible, and that's quite exciting. And it's exciting because we have many people that rent from us at the moment that in no way on this earth could they manage to get to that magic figure of 20%, but could make the 5%. And what's interesting about this is that, having just spoken to our broker, hi Emily, if you're watching, thanks for your hints and tips and advice on this. We were talking about this and saying, how will this impact the wider market? And she was saying that if it's the same as Help to Buy on the new build market, and the indications are that it will be, then what that means is that the lower rates of repayment will be available to first-time buyers. In other words, although it will be a 95% mortgage, the rates charged will be more in line with people with a much higher deposit because the government's guaranteeing that proportion of it. So one of the big disparities and mismatches we found in the last few years is that not only have first-time buyers got to find this 20%, which is massive, isn't it? Not only have they got to find that 20%, but when they do, the rates they're being charged are not the same as those of us with equity in our properties, where we're getting 1% and 2% loans. Oh no, 3% and 4% is common. So now, all of a sudden, this government is quite exciting because we should see rates come down and capability go up. And those two things together, I think, are a game changer for the market. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. So I hope you're well today. If you haven't been here before, then welcome along. Thanks for watching. This is Ken at 10. It's been a beautiful weekend, and we broadcast daily here from our offices in Southwest London, where we sell and let property. You know what? Got hay fever, first time ever in February this year. Can you believe it? How can you have hay fever in February? Unbelievable. That's another headline here. Self-employed mortgage borrowers could miss out on the rumored extension of stamp duty holidays. Banks and building societies have continued to tighten their lending rules for self-employed borrowers. In contrast to the rest of the mortgage market, Chris Sykes of Mortgage Broker Private Finance warned that these restrictions would likely continue to next year. So self-employed borrowers could indeed miss the stamp duty deadline, no doubt. And of course, one of the big difficulties for lenders is looking at self-employed particularly during the pandemic, many of whom have no income. How do they know how their businesses will bounce back? How can they be sure? that these businesses will bounce back at all. So you can understand why that's a massive issue for the market. Apart from that, Labour have rejected the government's first-time buyer plan. Well, wouldn't they just? The Shadow Chancellor Annalise Dodds today warns in a pre-budget speech that a government scheme to help first-time buyers onto the housing ladder will only inflate the property bubble further. Plans in this budget will include the Treasury underwriting 95% for mortgages. Yeah, we know that. And we know what she's saying. And yet nobody wants to see prices go through the roof. But you know what? We want to see first-time buyers get on, get some equity, and actually, yeah, have some success with it. You know, this pulls people up out of the poverty and into the buying community, which drives them on to work harder, to pay their mortgages, and hopefully to get wealth and equity for their families as the property market rises. So there's nothing wrong with a little bit of property inflation, although we don't want to go through the roof. But it's great to see that first-time buyers will get back involved. For me, this is really significant. I'm excited by it, as you can tell. We've been trying to push for this for some months. I've been saying for a long time, the big problem with Help to Buy has been that it's been angled towards new build homes only. And the problem with that is that the new home builders knew that the demand for their properties was disproportionate to the rest of the market, because first-time buyers with a 95% deposit only had one option, and that was new build. Now, this is a great equalizer if you suddenly bring in the fact that you can buy any second-hand home. And by the way, it's not just for first-time buyers. It's a 95% government-backed scheme, which means that even if you're not a first-time buyer, this can help you move home up to 600,000. It's quite exciting. Let's say the only reservation I have is that, from what we understand, banks will be able to do it for about 3,000 people per month. Is that enough? I think the demand will be much higher, and I would like to see expanded. I think it'd be successful. And what I love about first-time buyer things like this is that if you incentivize the first-time buyer, then you remove the person from the flat that's stuck in the big block, that doesn't want to be there anymore. First-time buyer, glad to have their own place for the first time, be delighted to be in one of those cool blocks for the first time. And then the second-timer can sell, move on smoothly, and get that garden or outdoor spaces they've been craving. Now they've got a baby or whatever. And it moves the whole of the market. You know, if the first-time buyer market moves, then the middle market moves. If the middle market moves, then the luxury market moves. So it affects us all in a really positive way. And I'm really pleased that they've identified this gap in the market, because for me, this has been the missing link for far too long. First-time buyers not having a good opportunity to get into the market because of ridiculous levels of deposit required, meaning that the buy-to-let market and buy-to-let investors have had that market almost all to themselves. And this should be a great equalizer. So delighted about that. So that's it from Ken at 10 today. Hope you're well. We've got the budget this week. Really interested to see that. So much of it has been trailed. I think we kind of already know what's happening, but who knows? He might change it all. Rishi has been known to do things a little bit differently, hasn't he? But we love him so far. Let's hope he does the right thing. That's on Wednesday. And of course, we will do a post-budget special on that as well. And also, next week, we'll be speaking to the fantastic Georgia Ladbury, Dr. Georgia Ladbury. She's an epidemiologist. Many of you who watch the show regularly will know. She comes on and talks to us about COVID, the latest developments, vaccines, and spread. So, you know, we're very much interested in speaking to her again. She's a fantastic way of bringing across the most complex things into simple language. So it's great to hear from her. Always lovely to hear how the vaccines are developing, what her advice is, and her views on where we are and where that light at the end of the tunnel is right now. So looking forward to speaking with her. As we get a date to do that, I will let you know. And until tomorrow, take care of yourselves and your families. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe.